My name is Brianna. I am the owner of Moonwax Galaxy, a small business that sells 100% soy candles and wax melts with a space theme. I think I keep forgetting to say that, but my business has a space theme. Okay, I have a weird video to record today. I'm batch filming, obviously, which is why I'm in the same getup as probably the last video, but I am going to record a little bit of a weird video today only because my friends give me suggestions on like what content I should be posting because I never post. And today I'm going to take one of their suggestions, which is the whole like how-to videos. I know that like how-to videos are pretty much the way to go, low-key, if you want to do stuff, especially with candle making. Like everybody wants to know so much about candle making because everybody and mama is doing candle making. So this is kind of like a tutorial. I already made a video on like how to make a candle. One of my friends suggested like talking about how I make my candles, which I can do. So if people are interested in that, I guess I can make a video on how I make my candles specifically. So yeah. What I'm going to talk about today is basically websites, online stores, storefronts, and bear with me as I sort of like try to get everything out that I want to say. So first things first. Once you have, and this step is specifically for once you have your business kind of like figured out and what you can maybe try to plan for if you don't have it figured out. But let's say you have your business figured out, you have the name, you have the pictures, you have the logo, all the colors, blah, blah, blah. You've got your products, you already know all this stuff, right? The next step most people are going to take is trying to figure out how to sell their product. And to sell product, there's probably one of two ways that you're going to do it. Either I don't know why I said one, you're going to try to sell it physically in person to another person face to face, whether it's a retail store, whether it's a pop-up shop, whether you're trying to do a square card reader, whatever it is. You're going to actually try to find people in your local area to sell to. The other thing that people will do is that they need an online storefront, right? Their own website, if you will. This is so they can take orders online and ship it out to someone, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, there's pros and cons to both selling in person versus selling online. Today, we're just going to talk about how to sell online, okay? Specifically, and this is just going off of my experience, so bear with me. There's a couple websites that I have done trial and error with the past 3 years. I think I've been doing this. Have I been doing this for 3 years? 3 years. Don't quote me on that. It might be, I'm pretty sure it's 3 years. We launched in 2021, so it's been almost 3 years because it was in September. Anyway, you don't care. There's 4 different sites I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to be looking down in my notes, so forgive me. So there's Etsy, Shopify, Big Cartel, and TikTok Shop. These are the 4 main ones I'm going to talk about because these are the 4 main ones that most people try to sell stuff online, obviously. One thing to know to realize is that there's way more than these 4. These are just the 4 that I've had experience with. There's also Instagram Shop, which I know a lot of people buy off of Instagram. So first things first, Etsy. If you're not aware of what Etsy is basically a online store for people to sell and buy mostly handmade goods. That's how it started off. Etsy was mostly for like, the hippies, the people who are like, I needed this sweater and I want to sell my sweater. I made this painting and I want to sell my painting. I made these candles. I want to sell my candles. Like handcrafted goods. Someone who made something in their house and they're just trying to sell it, right? Times have changed. Times have definitely changed. And I feel like it's a little rich coming from me because I was never really a part of Etsy during the like handmade, when it was really about handmade selling. But within the last few years, Etsy has kind of changed from what it's known for. So it used to be that you would go on Etsy and Etsy has its own SEO and algorithm and blah, 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 blah. And basically what that means is Etsy has its own search engine. And when it has its own search engine, it's kind of like a search bar, usually at the top. You type in what you want to look up, results pop up, right? Very similar to Amazon, very similar to Google. Every website that has its own search feature is called SEO, and they have their own tags and algorithms on how they pick what is shown first at the top, right? Everyone's trying to race to the top. If you are a seller, you want to be the first product that people see to get in front of their faces more often. Especially people will also race to be on the first page because most of the time most people who are buying something are not going to venture past the first page. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Most people don't bother to go to the second or third page unless they are looking for something very specific and they can't find it. Very rarely do buyers go past that first page. That being said, you can see why so many people are obsessed with the whole tagging system and blah, 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 but we'll get into it. So Etsy, again, used to be a lot for handmade sellers. Times have changed, mostly because with the influx of AI art and blah, 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 there's a lot of issues on Etsy right now. Particularly because Etsy, I'm not trying to like dog Etsy. I'm just trying to like give sort of an informational guide, but also try to like warn you of what to expect, because most people's first reaction is to immediately go to Etsy. So, one, Etsy is not free. Etsy is also really known for having a lot of fees. Etsy also used to let people sign up for free, but now they're changing it. I don't know if the change has taken effect yet, so don't quote me on it, but Etsy has updated it, so they are going to charge you $15 just to open your shop. So that's a big barrier. It is mostly to discourage any scammers, drop shippers, blah, 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 sort of to filter out the non-handmade sellers from the handmade sellers. You get what I'm saying? So that being said, you do have to cough up the $15. It is pretty much non-refundable as far as I know. They also kind of have an extensive, like, I don't think they run a background check, but you do have to like show identification of who you are and da 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 da. So be prepared for that. You're probably going to have to also send in your tax information, which for me, in my experience, was a nightmare. When I first signed up for Etsy, they did not have the $15 charge yet. However, they were kind of known for whatever reason holding your account hostage. And I can't remember what they said specifically, but it was kind of like, oh, well, you have to like, I had to like wait to get approved because they were investigating my shop or something weird like that. Just because like people have 2 or 3 shops. When you have, first of all, when you have more than one shop, it needs to be like in your description, or you have to tell people like, I have more than one shop. So a lot of people were getting in trouble for that. A lot of scammers were getting in trouble. A lot of fake accounts were getting made. So they were trying to investigate. I think that it's a little, I have mixed feelings about it. Like, I get why they do it, but at the same time, if you are someone who's not as familiar with the platform yet, and this is your introduction to, hey, I just signed up, but also my account is being held hostage for no reason, you know, it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth, as it did for me. The second thing that happened was I was trying to put in my tax information, and it was an absolute nightmare trying to put in my tax information. I think I made a video about it, but Etsy and I have beef. Etsy and I have always had beef. They kept asking, first of all, I have an EIN, and if you don't know what that means, that basically means that my business is an LLC and I have the employer identification number for my business. So that way, like, my business is a separate entity from me. So if anything happens, my business assets are separate from my personal assets. I can talk about that in a different video, not this video. So I put in my EIN, but then they were asking for like my state something number, which I had never heard of before, and I was trying to search for it. I literally had to email them and send them my the paperwork for my EIN to be like, I have an EIN, figure it out, which was so much fun. I had to go back and forth with them for so much, which brings me to my other point. Etsy customer service absolutely sucks ass, and I'm so sorry about it, but if you are a buyer, I'm just talking about, first of all, if you're a seller, I'm mostly talking about sellers because I know most of you watching this video are probably looking for sellers. Etsy's customer service is like trying to find a unicorn. I swear to God. First of all, they don't really have a contact us page where you can just like pull it up, find the email, find a number, find that. Like, it's very hard to find the email for customer support. When you do get into contact with customer support, because I have both email customer support and I've chatted, because you have a chat feature with customer support, for whatever reason, customer support just doesn't seem to know what they're doing. First of all, they're critically understaffed. So like getting a hold of a person is so hard. But second of all, when you do get a hold of a person, they just don't seem to know what they're doing. For example, I'm not gonna out this person or whatever, but I did get an international order and I shipped it out, and this person wanted a refund. I guess because I shipped it out through the wrong carrier or something like that. And they were like, well, my country's shipping is like bad and blah, 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 or stuff gets stolen. And I'm kind of like, why wouldn't you message me if you wanted me to send it through a specific carrier? But that was a whole other thing. They wanted a refund. They also seemed rather surprised that contacted them when they asked for a refund. So with Etsy, there's a lot of hands-on with the customer. With Amazon, not so much. For example, if you're used to buying from Amazon, you're not really used to talking directly to the seller. You're used to talking to Amazon. So if you want a refund, Amazon is the person you're talking to, not the random, person that's selling whatever random item you're trying to buy. Etsy is the exact opposite. If you want a refund, if something's wrong with your product, if anything, they encourage you to contact the seller, talk directly to the seller, right? So when this person asked for a refund, it immediately came to me. I messaged them and I was like, hey, is everything okay? Why do you want a refund? And they seemed genuinely surprised. It was like, oh, I thought I was talking to Etsy. I didn't realize that it was going to go to you. And I'm like, yeah, this is just how Etsy works. That being said, I went to Etsy to try to figure out how to, and I don't know why I was pulling up a blank because on my end, I absolutely can give someone a refund, but I don't know why I just didn't think to give her the refund. But I went to Etsy and I'm like, hey, this person is asking for a refund from you. Can you give them the refund? And they were like, oh, well, this person has to report your channel or something, report my entire fucking store or something like that. And I'm like, that seems kind of intense for a refund. Is there no other way to do it? And they told me pretty much no. I'm like, so there's no way for either me or you to refund this person. They have to report my storefront. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm hesitant to do that because I'd imagine that that could be held against me if I'm reported too many times. Like, obviously, if I get enough reports, I'd imagine I would be penalized for that. And they're like, no, you won't be penalized for it, da-da-da-da-da. So I told her to report my store in order to get the refund. But come to find out later that I read an article from Etsy, mind you, that was like, yeah, we hold that against you. And it's kind of like, why would customer service tell me that you don't hold this against me when you obviously do? So it's just different stuff like that where customer service really just they don't seem like they know what they're doing. To make a long story short, they really just don't. One person will tell you something is okay, and then the other person will be like, no, it's not okay. And it's just a mess. So keep that in mind. If you do open an Etsy store, if anything goes wrong, if you're having issues, you might be lost for a while. You might be thrown in the deep end. God be with you if you find luck. If you find someone to help you, because Etsy really is not known for their customer service. They're just not. And I'm so sorry about it, babes. So the reason why people gravitate towards Etsy is because it's very easy to set up. It's very simple, right? Simple to use. When I say easy use, you literally just sign up, you upload your pictures. So for example, you upload a picture of either yourself, or you can upload a picture of your logo, whatever business logo you have, whatever. And then you also have a banner. So you can upload a banner for your business. And then listings, you basically just make a listing for a product. So for example, I don't have a label on it yet. Say watermelon lemonade candle, right? I would take pictures of my candle, put it up as a listing. And I take pictures, I put the title, I put in tags, I put in how much it costs, I put in all the shipping information. Someone will add it to their cart, they'll buy it, and then I get a notification saying, hey, someone bought this candle, send it out to great hoopla, hoop hoopara, we love to see it. Etsy will usually do all the calculating of the checkout and all the calculating of the shipping for you. You don't have to worry about it. They will even help you generate a label for you. So basically you just go in, buy the label, boom, bada bing, you're done, right? So you package it up, you basically just weigh it. You say the box is this big, it weighs this much, and Etsy will be like, cool, takes that information. It will show you different options you can go with. So you can ship through USPS, FedEx, or UPS here in the US. I know there's different shipping carriers in different countries, blah, 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 right? You then take that information, pick which label you want, print it out, slap it on the box, drop it off wherever you need to drop it off at, and then send it off. It's very simple. It's very easy. It's very straightforward. That's why a lot of people gravitate towards Etsy. Also, it's the fact that Etsy already has a built-in customer base. So there's already a customer base of people who buy straight from Etsy, right? So that being said, a lot of people gravitate towards Etsy because they might not necessarily have to do a lot of marketing. They might not necessarily have to do a lot of social media posts in order to get people to buy from them. They just have to catch the attention of Etsy buyers in order to convince them to buy their stuff. You get what I'm saying? A lot of times people only switch over to their own website when they have a built-in enough audience, a built-in customer base of people where it'll make sense for them to switch over. You get what I'm saying? So that being said, I see a lot of the appeals. The downside is there's not a lot of customization. So your Etsy page is going to look the same as everybody else's Etsy. You can't necessarily change the background colors, the font, the blah, blah, blah. You can't like do a lot of crazy customization besides with your like product photos. Another thing that's really annoying with Etsy is the ungodly amount of fees. If you've ever visited another site like Wix or Shopify or Big Cartel, and one of their big selling points is that they're like, no fees, no listing fees, no this fees, no that fees, is because they're taking shots at Etsy. Etsy charges you for every fucking thing, bro. And there's probably a website, probably an Etsy page or something like that, where I can show you all of Etsy's fees so you can do the math if you really want to. But Etsy basically has a 20-cent listing fee. So for every listing that you make, that's 20 cents right there. There's also a transaction fee, which is like a certain percentage of the actual transaction plus like 30 cents on top of that or something like that. Then of course there's taxes. Then of course there's like something else. They've got 4 or 5 different fucking fees. Those fees add up pretty quickly once you're making enough money, which are good problems to have, don't get me wrong, but once you're making enough, those fees can really add up and take a good chunk of change out of your profits. So that being said, some people don't mind it and are like, I've been selling on Etsy for 20, 30, 40 plus years. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but people who have been on the platform for many, many years and don't mind that, and they're just like, Etsy is my home. There are some people where they're just like, I'm trying to grow and scale and expand, and I can't keep doing this. So again, think of what's best for you and your business. At the same time, I would advise, listen, I am not here to tell you what you should do with your life, but it's always a pretty bad idea to put all your eggs in one basket. Because listen, Etsy is very much so known for closing shops, deleting, closing listings, deleting people's shops, no questions asked. There's sort of more so of the delete first, ask questions if you can later, right? So if you go on YouTube, there's plenty of videos of like people that are like, Etsy closed my shop. They didn't tell me why. I didn't get any answers. I can't get my shop back. And now I have to figure out what I'm going to do. You don't want that to be you. Trust me, have a backup plan. Probably maybe be selling somewhere else. I wouldn't just rely on Etsy and solely Etsy. I would not, listen, I'm not trying to slander Etsy, but at the same time, I would not trust Etsy like that. I'm so sorry about it. I'm so sorry about it. Two more things I gotta rant about with Etsy. So you're a handmade seller, you might want to watch out because Etsy's platform is changing. A lot of people know this. A lot of people have been talking about this. I say this because there are Etsy experts on the platform that you can look at, you can subscribe to, and pretty much the name of the game is basically just how to get more eyes on your listings, how to get more sales, how to get more, right? Because people are really struggling to make sales on Etsy. On one hand, I think it's because A, the economy is not that great right now. People are poor. But 2, I think people just aren't interested in Etsy anymore. And the reason why I say that is because Etsy is filled with drop shippers. If you don't know what a drop shipper is basically someone who buys a reseller, essentially, in so many words. Basically someone who buys something off of, for example, AliExpress or Alibaba, or sometimes even Temu. They'll buy these cheap products online and they'll buy them in bulk. So they'll buy, I don't know, like 500 of the item, take pictures of it. Sometimes they don't even take pictures. They'll just steal the generic product picture and just resell it, right? And resell it on Etsy or whatever. And they, trust me, people are doing it because a lot of people buy into it. So they might take a $2 item off of Temu and then resell it for 20 bucks. And guess what? They're making hand over fist money. So most people on Etsy, most of the handmade sellers, obviously you can see why not so popular on the platform. But at the same time, like Etsy is known for being handmade, and with the invasion of drop shippers, most of the sellers I feel like are leaving the platform. That's my unprofessional opinion. Obviously, I'm not an Etsy expert, okay? But I think that most people are leaving Etsy because if there's not as many handmade sellers on there, they're not obviously going to stick around on Etsy. I don't think Etsy has realized this because they're marketing really hard for people to come in for, oh, handmade sellers. But if you actually go on the site and look up something, the handmade sellers really aren't anywhere to be found. And some of them have gotten really good at fooling you into thinking that they're handmade when they're not. So I definitely get it, because that's another big thing. Though a lot of Etsy shops are kind of known for the, lack of a better term, white girl aesthetic. You know, there's really bright colors. It's really saturated. You see a lot of cartoon drawings, blah, 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 blah. And don't get me wrong, I really love that aesthetic too. But when drop shippers are starting to present themselves as though they, you know, are that person, and they've only been open for a few months, but they've sent out literally hundreds of thousands of orders, you know, just people get skeptical. People get wary. Listen, if you are the small business that you claim to be, where you're only having 1 or 2 people, I don't understand how it's physically possible that you're sending out hundreds of thousands of orders in like 3 months. I mean, it's possible that your shop could just be on and popping like that, but girl, please. Anyway, so there's that. There's also the invasion of people selling AI art, which my heart goes out to all the artists out there. I really do, because it's so hard to find. I know they're kind of getting drowned out as well, where they're sitting here like, I spent hours hand painting this thing, drawing this thing. Oh, so, you know, just be wary of that. Again, I'm not trying to slander Etsy. I'm really not. But like, the cons are outweighing the pros right about now. If you want to take your chances, go for it. Etsy is a great platform for sort of building yourself up and getting the audience base. Just keep those things in mind, where like, it's all on you, and you're also really in front of customers more than I think the average person would think. The only other thing that I have a complaint about when it comes to Etsy is that you have to play Etsy's fucking, as I call it, the algorithm game. Every social media platform, sometimes even seller apps like this, for example, Etsy, they all have their algorithm that you have to play through, and their own rules and their own blah, blah, blah you got to adhere to. I'm not necessarily that person. Again, I'm a very straightforward person. I just like to be like, here's the item, here's the description of the item. Do you want to buy it? Yes or no? I don't want to do like a dance and a flip and a jig and sing a song and twerk and do all this crazy shit just to sell an item. Like, I'm just not that person. There are people who are like that. There are people who are really good at that. I'm trying to get to the point where I can pay someone to do that for me, because I hate doing that. Anyways, Etsy sort of has the star seller badge. Jesus, tap dancing fucking Christ. The star seller badge. First of all, you already have to play the game of like, you have to find the right tags that people are going to be looking for, and hope and pray that the algorithm gods are going to put you on the first page. Or you're probably going to have to try to do the star seller badge. If I'm being honest, most sellers and buyers don't really care about the star seller badge, but Etsy makes a really big fucking deal about the star seller badge. The star seller badge is a combination of 3 different things that you have to do in order to get this badge. Star sellers tend to be pushed by Etsy more when it comes to the search result pages. So yes, you are more likely to be seen on the top pages if you are a star seller. There's also a filter that Etsy added, but I don't think anyone uses. It's like 9% of users use it or something like that, where you can filter shops by the star seller badge. That being said, the star seller badge basically means that you ship things out quickly. So I think it's like, once you get an order, you have up to 3 or 4 days to ship it out at the latest, in order to basically get the star seller badge. Usually when a buyer is buying stuff, they'll see in the description, which you can set how fast your shipping times are and whatnot. But Etsy will try to give an estimate of, hey, your order will be shipped by this date and you'll receive it by maybe, for example, what's today's date? If today's the May 2nd, right? Etsy will be like, you could probably get it by May 10th because it's in Chicago and you live in blah, blah, blah. And this is how fast it's going to get to you. Well, the issue is because Etsy is giving that estimate, they don't really like it when, and obviously the buyer isn't going to like it if you just have that order sitting doing nothing and they're like, it hasn't been shipped in this time. The issue with that is when you're dealing with handmade sellers, sometimes you have this concept of made to order, right? So for example, for me, I do not make my candles made to order. I have them made to stock. So I have my candles, and say I make 6 candles and I put it on the website. I have 6 candles. Once they're gone, and I have to restock. Some people have made to order, which means the second that you place an order with them, that is when they make the product. Some people make this known. It is a very good idea to tell your sellers, listen. Bit of business advice. This is a whole different other fucking rant. And I did not mean for this video to get this long, but I'm only talking about Etsy, so I apologize in advance. But little tidbit about being a business owner. If you, the best thing that you can do is stay in communication with your customers. Don't leave them in the dark. Let them know what's going on. If, you're having pre-orders, pre-orders is a whole different other ballgame. If you have pre-orders, let them know when you estimate for the pre-orders to get to you. Let them know an estimate of when they expect the pre-orders to be shipped out. Let them know every step of the way. If something goes wrong with pre-orders, if you are behind schedule with pre-orders, let your customers know. There's so many other situations where I've seen where people are like, things didn't work out and my customers are mad at me. And literally the customers are just commenting stuff of like, I wouldn't even be that mad if you just told me what was going on. So remain in constant communication with your customers. If you got to post to Facebook, if you got to post to TikTok, if you got to email them, figure it out. But don't leave them in the dark. So you have to ship out the orders pretty quickly, or else obviously the customer is going to be mad. Etsy's not going to like that. Bad. The other thing is that you have to have I believe it's a 4.5 or higher reviews. This one is kind of hard only because like if you're a shop that's just starting out, it's kind of weird that you can't get promoted if you're an up and coming shop, because sellers who are already established with the star seller badge will get pushed to the top before you. You get what I'm saying? So I don't really see that as fair, but 4.5, sorry, it's 4.5 or higher star rating. And these ratings are basically like after the customer orders, they have so many days before they can leave a review for each product that they've bought. And that affects your star rating. I think they could also leave a shop rating as well for your entire shop. Yeah, man, I don't know. I usually I have fine reviews. Like people like my stuff. I get 4 and 5 reviews. I do get outliers every now and then of people that I don't know. Like I'm not trying to be a dickhead and like talk shit about my customers. I really am not. But like sometimes I just come across odd people. Trying to like not be negative, but like not that it even was negative experiences that I have with customers, but like just really odd people. Or like one person that I and obviously I don't respond to reviews. I just let people post what they want to post and I leave it alone, just because I don't necessarily think it's my place to like be in review sections. I don't know. I just like let people say what they want to say, unless it's like, which I have not had to deal with, but unless it's like a false review, I don't care. That being said, I did get like reviews of someone who is reviewing the actual like product in a way. So they were like, I like this smell. I don't like that smell as much. I like this smell, which is fine and dandy. But when you leave a 1 star on a smell that like you don't like, that affects my entire like overall shop score. So like, it's not that I'm really annoyed with the customer. I'm just annoyed with Etsy that they set it up this way, because it's like, it's not that I did something wrong as a seller. It's just that they bought a smell that they didn't necessarily like, but I'm being penalized for it. You get what I'm saying? So that being said, the last thing, so you need fast shipping times, you need good reviews, and then the third thing that you're going to need for this star seller badge, which I imagine, again, whatever, but the last thing you're going to need is called speedy replies, which basically Etsy has a messaging system. I've mentioned this before, where people can anyone can message you. Let me make that abundantly clear. So there are people who may not have bought from you that can message you if they have any questions like, hey, shipping, pricing. I've gotten quite a few messages about shipping just because like the weight was off with my products, it's usually because the something is off with my shipping, and shipping is way too expensive. Anyone can message you. Usually Etsy wants you to respond within 24 hours of receiving that message. The problem is people have lives. So if you're doing something that day and you can't get to that message until tomorrow, that messes up your message response rate, which has to be like 80% or higher. I remember I fell below that message response rate and like lost my star seller badge for like a couple months. But again, like, I'm not that pressed about the star seller badge. If you really care about it and you're trying to get to the top of the page and you're just like, I care about being the first search result that comes up, more power to you. Honestly, great. Hip hip hoorah. All those things can, considered, which we'll just do a quick review. It's easy to set up. Customer base already built in. You've got fees. You've got a lot of fees for Etsy. You've also got lots of drop shippers, resellers, blah, 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 AI art, non-handmade stuff. You've also got little to no customer support on the buyer end. I don't really know what customer support looks like on the buyer end, but on the seller end, you don't really have that, much support. And then you also have to play by the Etsy algorithm game. So you have to figure out what the best, tags are, what, star seller, blah, 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 blah. I've got to do all this stuff to make sure that shoppers can see my products. Listen, again, if you want to play by all those games and hoops and flips and tricks, I get tired of it pretty easily. More power to you if you're like, I'm going to fight the good fight. I forgot to mention that with Etsy. You can also pay for ads. Etsy has two types of ads, on-site ads. For example, if someone searches up candle, there's a chance that an ad, quote unquote, where you paid for that spot will show up. You can also pay for offset ads. So for example, the ads that you see pop up on Google, those are considered off-site ads because it's not on Etsy anymore. Again, you can pay for it. I think Etsy has an opt-in option where you actually have to go into your settings to opt out of it. So there's that. Etsy also has the fucking, that shit pisses me off. The $35 off. So for example, if someone orders more than $35 of product, they get free shipping. You can opt in on that or opt out. I realize that I can do that, but here's the slippery slope because I'm fighting with Etsy about this too. One, it cuts into a lot of my profit because if someone orders like, I don't know, $30, $40 worth of stuff, but shipping is fucking $15, that cuts into my profit. Especially if I'm already paying Etsy fees, like I'm losing out on a lot of money doing that. So I turned that feature off. I noticed that as soon as I turned that feature off, Etsy was not pushing me as much, but I also realized that like a lot of my customers probably like aren't ordering as much because they're not trying to pay that shipping fee, which I do feel bad about, but at the same time, I'm like, I cannot be paying $15 shipping on a $40 order and then Etsy pays out, takes out his fees and then I'm only making fucking $15 on a $40 order. Like I can't. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't. So that's fun. That's been fun fighting Etsy about. The second platform that I went immediately after Etsy, or actually it was at the same time as Etsy, I set up my Shopify. Shopify is kind of up there with Etsy just because, by the way, I'm not sponsored or anything. I don't have any codes for you. I don't have any affiliate links. I might not even remember to put it in the description, so I'm so sorry about it. But Shopify is kind of up there just because Shopify is really popular with small and big brands alike trying to sell online. I know that lots of big influencers, content creators, whatever word you want to use, also use Shopify for whatever they're selling. That being said, the dealio with Shopify is that it's a lot more customizable than Etsy. So you can customize fonts, colors, brand logos, anything your heart desires, you can do. Some people may find that a little overwhelming. If not, go crazy, go stupid. You can definitely like customize to your heart's content. Shopify is also kind of similar to Etsy where you make, I think they still call them listings. No, I think they're just called products, but you can still make product listings where you make a new listing, you put in the title of the product, you put in the photos, you put in the description, you put out in how much it costs, how much it weighs, blah, 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 blah. Great. We love to see it. Shopify is more expensive. Well, can be more expensive than Etsy. It is like $30 a month, I think is their least expensive plan. Don't quote me on that. I'll probably visit the website just to check. but $30 a month. It is also more customizable just because you have apps. And these apps, for example, you can add in a review app. You can add in, what is the one, offset shipping. So it's green and blah, 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 blah. You can add in the affiliate program app that I have. Some of these apps cost money, some of them don't. So some of them will be like, oh, it's an additional blah, blah, blah a month. Some of them are literally made to integrate with Shopify. For example, I have one with Etsy right now where people can see all my Etsy reviews on my homepage. Again, the possibilities are endless with whatever you want to do, fam. So that being said, again, Shopify is a little bit more expensive, but more customizable. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, it's a little bit more for bigger businesses because once you have a Shopify, right, you can also get a custom, domain. So instead of it saying, etsy.com/ whatever your Etsy page name is, you can have it say, so for example, instead of etsy.com/moonwaxgalaxy, I can just be like, just go to moonwaxgalaxy.com, right? So you have your own domain, you control everything. You don't have to worry about stuff getting deleted or, your shop being closed out of nowhere unless you like breaking Shopify's rules, which that would be pretty hard to do, to be honest, unless you're like a scammer. But like, you control everything pretty much. You don't have to worry about shipping stuff within a certain time frame unless you just want to wait a month to send out, shipping times, and then your customers get pissed off at you. But pretty much you don't have to play the algorithm game. As I've said with Etsy, you don't really have to play by their nonsensical games half the time. Driving traffic, driving people to customers to your actual website is your responsibility. So you can't necessarily rely on people that know about Etsy and shop on Etsy and go, to Etsy very often to buy stuff. You now have to tell people, hey, come to my website, buy my stuff, right? Which is why most people then have to turn to online marketing, whether it's you make a TikTok account, you make a YouTube account, you make a Facebook, whatever, Instagram, and now you have to post and say, go here, go here, go here to buy my stuff, right? Keep that in mind. That being said, obviously Shopify has great customer support. I don't think I've ever had an issue getting a hold of someone. And yeah, you also have, so you have complete control, you have the high fees. You also have Google SEO, right? So for example, which I think they say at the bottom of your listing, basically you can add your own tags, add your own description, and Shopify will show you this is what your listing is going to look like in the search results. So there is the potential. So for example, hold on, let me get my candle again. My watermelon lemonade candle. There's a potential that if someone looks up watermelon lemonade candle, my stuff will show up in the search results. There's a lot of people who put a lot of research into Google's SEO because you have to play the Google game a little bit of like, how do I make sure that this result pops up as high as possible in the search results? I have not experimented that much with Google SEO. I probably should. I haven't gotten around to it. Good luck out there in those streets. You can also pay for offset ads. But anyways, so Shopify also has the offset ads thing, which seems to be built in. Like, you don't necessarily have to pay for it. I think you can pay for it if you want to, but you don't have to. I have not messed around with ads very much. Usually you can, so any site, because TikTok, Instagram, Facebook all have like, hey, pay us money for ads. And I mean, I guess you can set a budget of maybe $1 a day or whatever, because ads is based on how many people, I think the click-through rate or something like that, which is usually a couple cents per click. But again, like, most people are going to ignore the ad, or most people aren't going to click on the ad. You can mess around with it if you want on like what's a compelling ad and like how to get people to actually click on it, how many people actually end up buying something. You can usually see all of those numbers in their platform. But again, I haven't messed around with it. Probably could, but I'm broke. So yeah. Just be wary of the $30 a month. They do have like, let you get like a 1 month free trial or whatever it is. But again, like paying $30 every month when you're like not really making that many sales. Like, I don't know. Like, again, if you're making enough money like that, you can go off the platform and be like, listen, I've got enough loyal customers who are going to just like buy from me regularly, so I don't have to worry about it. But like if you're just starting out, I wouldn't recommend it, just because again, you're paying the $30, but you're not really making sales. You're losing out on money. That's just me. That's just me. Because at the end of the day, us small business owners, we're trying to make money. You're going to be wasting a lot of money if you don't, have that built-in people buying from you. Okay, cool. Big Cartel. So here's the thing with Big Cartel. I wish I had known about Big Cartel. You're moving around and I'm so sorry about it. I wish I had known about Big Cartel a little bit more when I first started out, but Big Cartel is basically kind of like Shopify. It's a mixture of Shopify and Etsy. And the reason why I say that is because there is some customization with Big Cartel, but not as much as Shopify. So like you have themes, you have templates, which Shopify has, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Shopify has like themes and templates for free that you can use, but some templates you have to pay for. And like some of them are like $189. Baby. Big Cartel has themes. I don't know if all of them are free, but I know most of them are free. So with a template, it already basically comes with the layout of how it looks, with the colors, the themes, the fonts. Like you can change it, I think, if you want to. But yeah, that's Big Cartel. Big Cartel is only $10 a month, which is their cheapest plan. The problem with Big Cartel is that they do put a limit on how many listings that you can have. First of all, Big Cartel has a free plan. Let me start off with that. They do have a free plan, so you can have a custom domain. You can have your listings, you can have the customizations, but it's not as extensive as Shopify, so it's in that sweet middle ground. It does have a free plan, but you can only have 5 products and 1 picture for each product. The next plan up from that is the $10 a month, which is a lot better than obviously $30 a month. You can only have, I think it's 50 products and 5 pictures per product. So Big Cartel, I would have loved Big Cartel just starting out. The problem with Big Cartel, which is why I don't really use Big Cartel that often, is because of they don't really seem to have any sort of shipping system. When I say shipping system, because I feel like there's probably a word for it, but I can't think of what it is right now, and I'm so sorry about it. But when it comes to fulfilling your orders or shipping them out, Big Cartel doesn't really seem to have anything for that. So you have to connect it to a third party like Pirate Ship or ShipStation or something like that in order to send off the shipping. That being said, I really don't know if it's just like you copy and paste the shipping labels. I know there's some integration where like it'll just automatically send the orders over to, for example, I use I use Pirate Ship. So it'll send the orders over to Pirate Ship, and then you put in the information, right? You put in that person's information, you get the label from there, and then it'll send back the tracking number to the customer, which is great. But here's a little bit of my issue with that. And I will admit I'm kind of like a snob. I am definitely a diva when it comes to shipping, just because like with so many companies making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of the service that they give, I just don't understand why you can't make shipping as simple, as easy as it should be. So one thing I will give to Etsy, it is beautiful shipping stuff out. When I say this, so most of the platforms that I'm talking about, you have to put in the weight of your item when it's shipped. So for example, my candle weighs like 7 ounces when I package it up and ship it. When you're shipping stuff, shipping is calculated off of how big the box is, and more importantly, how heavy the box is. So if you ship something out and it weighs more than what you said it weighs, they're going to charge you for that. How do I know this? Because it happened to me. I shipped out something and it weighed like literally 2 or 3 ounces more than what I said it was, and they charged me. Granted, they didn't charge me a lot. Like they charged me like a couple dollars, like $1 or $2 or something like that. But just keep that in mind. You want the weight to be as accurate as possible. If it weighs lighter than what you said, you're fine. Obviously, because they want to take your money pretty much. So if I say that this box weighs a pound when it really weighs 7 ounces, like I'm not going to get in trouble for that. I don't know about international orders because obviously they're pretty strict on that sort of thing. So it needs to weigh what you said it weighs, or else it's going to be a problem. With Etsy, even though I said, hey, this weighs 7 ounces, if it weighs differently, because the issue that I've come across is that this will weigh, for example, if someone buys a candle and a wax melt, right? And the candle weighs 7 ounces. The wax melt weighs, 2 ounces, right? Etsy will sort of do the math to try to combine those two things. So Etsy will add that up and be like, okay, the shipping weighs this much money, right? Great, love to see it. Sometimes though, it's not always accurate and Etsy will say something weighs heavier than what it actually is. I can physically go in, right, and say that this weighs too much. So I can adjust that, right? My pet peeve, stick with me here because I know it's getting a lot. But my pet peeve with Shopify is that there's no way to fix that on Shopify. So if it does the calculations, I can't physically go in and say it weighs different than that. That's my pet peeve. So I can't just say, oh, well, it actually weighs this, calculate the weight based off of what I told you. It's going to say, no, you need to actually change the weight of the actual product. You see my issue, which it will let you go in and do, but I shouldn't have to go in and literally change the weight of each of my products just to make sure that you can magically pull up the right calculation so that it adds up to what I need it to add up to. That is so annoying when I'm trying to ship something out. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. The other thing with Big Cartel is that they seem really, really bad at shipping. And I wouldn't risk it. I wouldn't risk it because the way they do their shipping is that you put in the weight for the item. So for example, if I say this weighs 7 ounces, right? I can tell them if they add another product with it, add this much weight onto it, right? That doesn't work. That doesn't work. It really doesn't work because if someone buys this and a wax melt, I need you to add these two things on, not take the candle item and then add 2 or 3 more ounces onto that. You can see how that doesn't work for me. And that's my pet peeve is like, because at the end of the day, they're going to take whatever they calculate and charge it on the customer. And I don't like that because then I have to go back and be like, hey, I charge you too much or not enough. And then I have to eat the price of whatever the difference is. I'm not trying to do that. So that being said, Big Cartel also has a feature where you can just put in the individual weights. And the problem with that is that you have individual shipping items for each product. So the buyer will have to go in and say, I'm going to pay blah, blah, blah for this item, blah, blah, blah for another item that I put in my cart, blah, blah, blah. It's like each item they have to select the shipping for. Annoying, annoying, annoying. Most buyers, if they see that, they're probably not going to end up checking out. So that's my only gripe about Big Cartel and why I didn't switch over is that like you need to figure your shipping shit out, man. I don't know, cause they already take a cut of transaction fees. By the way, Shopify, Big Cartel also have a cut of the transaction fees. They just don't have as many fees as, so it's like 2.9% plus like 30-cent fee. So like you could probably just do the math real quick on that to like see what that would add up to and you know, sort of price your products based off of that. But yeah, I'm not messing around with shipping errors. I'm just not. I don't want to. So that's going to be lots of fun. You can there's probably someone who can be way more educated on how to figure out Big Cartel shipping. I'm just not that person. So I just never messed around with Big Cartel. I made an account, but I never made it public because you have to publish your changes before you make them go live. So yeah, man, there you go. Good luck with that. Big Cartel also would be in the same boat as Shopify where you have to drive all the traffic there and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have any other details to add for Big Cartel. Not that much to say. Last one, because I know I've been yapping on for like an hour now and I'm trying to speed this up. TikTok Shop. First of all, one thing that needs to be said and gotten out of the way, right now is probably not a good time to open up a TikTok shop only because, especially if you're in the US, because TikTok might be banned here in the US, so I would hold off on that until we know what's going on with TikTok. TikTok Shop has been compared to, because let's make one thing abundantly clear. TikTok Shop has been compared to Wish a lot of the times with the quality of items that are on the shop, on the storefront. I don't know why people compare it to Wish so much because to be honest, the way that TikTok Shop looks, it literally looks like a carbon copy of Temu. And there's so many influencers, content creators that I've seen that have been like, TikTok, you know, Temu is the devil. It's hell reincarnated, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, TikTok Shop looks exactly like Temu. So TikTok Shop is basically known for basically cheap stuff, for lack of a better term. the behind the scenes of TikTok Shop. First of all, lots of people like to have a TikTok Shop only because, again, TikTok is popular. It has millions, literally millions of users. If you find a way to blow up on TikTok, it can be very profitable because you can just link your products from that TikTok to TikTok Shop. You can probably look it up, plenty of people who are saying here like, I make millions of dollars a year off of TikTok and blah, 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 blah. Great, love it. We love to see it. Here's the problem with that. Those are the pros, not to take away from the pros, but my problem with TikTok is that TikTok Shop is not really known for handmade sellers. And the reason why I keep harping on and on about this, which, mind you, if you're watching this and you're not a handmade seller, go wild, go crazy, do what you want, I guess. But when you're a handmade seller, you have to consider, and I know there's a stereotype that handmade, handcrafted goods are like seen as like flea markets or like not that high quality, but truly, like, do I really want to be next to a bunch of people who are selling like random Temu shit? I don't know. It's literally crawling with drop shippers, sometimes scammers, cheap shit that isn't worth it, pretty much stuff that's gonna break. TikTok Shop also has its own reputation, people not sending out orders, people having their shops closed inexplicably. I struggle with saying that word, I'm sorry. Poor reviews, blah, 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 blah. People just shelling stuff that's like not all really that high quality. Keep all that stuff in mind. So if you want your stuff to be seen next to those sellers and those products, be my guest. But, you know, sometimes it's because I'm just saying it's odd to be like, here's a handmade candle next to like, I don't know, generic soap that you're not really sure if that person actually made that soap, or like, here's like a t-shirt that was made in China and this person doesn't even have their hands on it. It's just being sent straight from the I don't know, the manufacturer from in China to you, blah, 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 right? So here's my experience with signing up on TikTok Shop. The first thing you should probably know is for some reason TikTok limits how many orders you can send out. And I think it increases like the more orders you get per day, but for some reason I'm only allowed to like get 200 orders per day. Never have I ever gotten 200 orders per day. Let me in a day. Let me make that abundantly clear. But again, like if you are a small business and you're trying to scale and like you end up blowing up, that I could see that becoming a problem, right? Just because like, why can I only send out 200 orders? Like, I'm pretty sure once again, you get so many good reviews and blah, 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 that'll take off and that can increase. There's a lot of also things that can influence like your TikTok Shop. For example, TikTok has a point system. So it's like so many points. Ugh, I don't know the actual details because they changed it from when I started too. But when you mess up, you get like so many points against you. And once you have like, I think 15 points or something like that, they basically terminate your shop. They'll take down your shop. So for example, copyrighted material, even though it runs rampant on TikTok, TikTok Shop, once it's reported, we'll take it down, give you a slap on the wrist. Certain things cost more points than others. So keep that in mind. If you get copyright infringement, I think it's something like 5 points. So some things is like 1 point or 3 points, while other things will be like 5 points. So just keep that in mind. I know TikTok has sent me a lot of emails that's like, we're trying to be more transparent about points and here's more information about points and you can ask us anything about points. I'm pretty sure the point system is, if they have to constantly clarify how they're trying to be more clear about something, there's probably something going on with points that isn't clear to people. So just be sure about that. There's plenty of times where people will order something and my guess is that they get too many points on their shop and they get taken down, never get their order after that. So be wary, be careful. In terms of sellable items, cheaper items are obviously going to do well more than more expensive items. So if you are a small business, I would just recommend putting in your cheap items. I don't know how well a $40 t-shirt is going to really do on TikTok Shop. You can always, build up an audience that's willing to pay $40 for your t-shirts and you have that loyal, again, customer base. But with the way things are, I just don't see the whole more expensive items doing well on TikTok Shop just because they've already built a customer base that's expecting cheaper items. I don't really know how many people are willing to be like, yeah, I'm going to pay $40 for this handmade item when everything is cheap drop ship shit from China. And that's just me being honest. So That being said, I don't really know how sustainable it will be if you are a handmade business that's, trying to get people to pay those handmade prices, but more power to you. The last thing that I feel like is a big thing that makes me not really like TikTok Shop and I kind of stray away is that sometimes it's rather unclear of how much I'll be paid, only because with like Etsy or with Shopify, like they usually either send you an invoice or you can go in and see this is how much you made. You'll see a breakdown of this is how much I made this month. This is how much we took out in fees. This is how much blah, 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 blah. Like you can see it all laid out for you. For TikTok Shop, I didn't even realize, I don't know why, that TikTok Shop has fees. I don't know how much the fees are and they have not told me. I have received nothing from TikTok Shop, not an invoice, not a receipt, nothing. I usually just get a thing in my bank that's like TikTok Shop paid you blah, blah, blah. And that's great and dandy, but there's been times where, for example, I'll sell $5 wax melt and TikTok Shop will pay me like $3. And I'm like, why did you only pay me $3? And you don't tell me like how much your fees are, or you don't show me how much you're taking out of my profit. Bad signs, bad signs. So drifted away from TikTok Shop. There's probably somebody on here who can tell you and explain to you TikTok Shop fees, but I don't know. People are saying that they're making hand over foot money on TikTok Shop. And I'm like, how do you not see a breakdown of like how much you're supposed to be making versus how much you're profiting versus like, because I tried to mess around in TikTok Shop to see where it is and I have not been able to find it. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, because it probably does, but I haven't been able to find it yet. So keep that in mind and play by TikTok's algorithm, because that's the other thing about TikTok. This is going to be a mess to edit, but that's the other thing about TikTok is that you have to play by TikTok's algorithm game. So you got to find the right hashtags. You got to make the video interesting and appeal to a bunch of people. You have to hope to go viral. You have to go live, or maybe you don't have to go live. Maybe you have to sponsor people. Maybe you have to, like, TikTok changes its mind on what it wants you to do to promote your business every 5 seconds. And that's also really annoying for me. I think that's it that I really have when it comes to, TikTok Shop. I'm just going to give you, because these are the 4 main platforms that I try playing around with, I'm going to kind of give you my last sort of advice before my battery dies. But here's a couple things you want to think about. 1, think about your overall goals for your business. All of the advice that I've given so far has been mostly for handmade sellers, handmade businesses. Let me make that abundantly clear. So again, it's no hate, but if you are the type of person that's just trying to drop ship, just trying to figure out how I can do Amazon fulfillment, some bullshit like that, I am not the person to come to. I'm just so sorry. I don't have a lot of advice to give you when it comes to like, how do I resell something? I don't have it. That being said, a couple of things you should keep in mind. Do you want to scale your business? So is this something that you're just doing as a side hustle, or do you want to grow and actually sort of, do something with your business? Some people I have met that have a business and they're just like, I don't see this as a forever thing, or I'm just trying to use this to pay my bills. More power to you. But if you're trying to be like, I want to be known as a brand and business owner, I'm trying to scale, I'm trying to actually make this more of a legit thing, think about that, and that will help you figure out which platforms you want to go to, for what reasons, and for how long. Are you handmade or are you a reseller? I already kind of said that this video is supposed to be for handmade sellers, but if you're a reseller, think about that, because reselling is a whole different ball game than I make this product physically with my own 2 hands, or I even have my own hands on this product and I'm doing shipping and fulfillment myself versus drop shipping. I think I said this. Do you want to scale, or is this a side hustle? Do you want your own storefront? Do you want your own website? Do you want your own retail store? What do you want? What do you want to get out of this? And then how much control do you want with your branding? Do you want to just ship out anything, or do you want, customized shipping? Do you want people to recognize your brand? Do you have brand colors? Do you have thank you cards? Do you have something significant about your brand that you want people to know? Are you good at social media? I'm not good at social media. I've said this before, but are you good at social media? Are you able to market your product online? But are you good at social media? Do you want to play the algorithm game? Do you want to play by someone else's rules? Which I'm usually like, I'm just not that person. I don't want to have to do a bunch of arbitrary shit just for you to like promote my product. I'm sorry, I just don't. Will this platform exist in 10 years? Will this platform be profitable for you in 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, another year? there's quite a few platforms that, again, TikTok is one of them. I don't know if we're still going to have access, at least in the US, to TikTok. Consider that. Etsy. Do you see Etsy being around long term? Honestly, in my humble opinion, I don't see Etsy being a viable platform for handmade sellers long term. I just don't. And then again, is your business a means to an end? So are you, which I know I'm harping on this a lot, but this is really important. Is your business just a means to an end? Are you just trying to do this to pay your bills, or are you trying to scale? Is this just a side hustle, or is this something that you're trying to like make into something bigger? Considering all that, I don't know if I can recommend or not recommend any platform to start off with specifically. You're just going to have to figure it out on your own based off of the information that I gave you, because Etsy's a mess. TikTok Shop is a mess. Shopify is expensive. Big Cartel doesn't necessarily give you the shipping that I need it to give. So keep all those things in mind. My battery's dying. So thank you for watching this video. Like, share, and subscribe if you like this video. May your stars always align, and may fate always conspire in your favor. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye. My battery is dying. Hold on. Using all this effort. Sorry, my phone is going off. Excuse me. Hold on. Let me just put it on silent for a second. What the fuck was I even talking about? I'm yapping so much. I'm so sorry.